Hello and welcome to the Bones Horror Podcast. This is our episode 84, Friday the 13th from 2009. Tonight we have with us Jess.
Hello.
Ewan.
Hello.
Jess froze for a minute then. Larry, hopefully soon.
Yeah, I think you got the timings wrong. I think he's about to come on.
Okay, so hopefully Larry will join us soon. What have we been up to? Let me tick her off. Entertaining week this week. A bit slow on the work front, so I'm just about to change it up a bit. Taking on quite a big contract. But yesterday I went to our local festival, which had such great acts. I thought his name was Tiny Spider, but his name was Titchy Strider. And I did meet him, and he was very small. I can see now why they call him Titchy.
He's quite a famous bloke, isn't he? Titchy
He is
Strider. At least he was.
Yeah.
He was back
Yeah,
in
he
the
was
day.
very famous. But obviously, I'm 6'5", and he's about 5 foot, I would say. Hence the Titchy name. And he was really good, actually. He was only on for about 35 minutes. And then it was meant to be Martin Kemp and his son, but his son didn't turn up. So it was just Martin Kemp, Reggie Cray, Spandau Ballet, all that.
Yeah.
And he just played an hour of 80s hits and DJ'd. It was interesting. But I had a lot of fun, drunk a lot of beer, as you expect. I think I got there at 1 o'clock and got home about 11. So it was a long day. But good. Yes, I could have been at the Isle of Wight Festival, but no. Went to our local Swan Fest. So what have you guys been up to, Jess? I know you've been at home, haven't you?
Just been at home, work and then hanging out at home.
Chilling.
Yeah, just chilling, enjoying the
Did
weather.
you go out on the lash Friday?
No, I went to my friend's house to go sit in the garden and have some drinks in the sun. And the guys all decided to have chicken and hot sauce.
Oh, nice.
Which they all immediately regretted because they were all having the hottest sauces ever. So
Yeah,
they regretted that
great.
the next day. So I did not participate.
Oh. I'm going to add a Larry to the stream now, so if we can all give him a clap, all right? All right.
Okay.
Hey,
Right, Larry. Hello, mate.
you made it.
Welcome to the podcast. This is Larry. We were just getting to that bit of the show, the boring bit where we go, what have we been doing this week?
And he's jittery as well.
Oh, no.
He's very jittery as well. He's frozen. Oh no, he's back.
I might mess things up as well. I'm going to add the screen for the...
Oh, yeah.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, there we go.
He's
There we
frozen
go.
like a bird.
Oh, he's birdies. Right, there we go. What was that bird film we watched? That was great, wasn't it?
Birdemic.
Yeah, pandemic.
So hopefully Larry will be back soon when he unfreezes. Ewan, what are you up to?
Oh wait, no, there he is. He was. Yeah. So I've so
We're all freezing. I hope this isn't me doing this. One of my kids downloading 100 gigs of it.
No,
Might well be.
They're playing too much Minecraft.
Yeah. So this week I was suddenly struck. Dan's just commented. Ladies used to call me hot sauce when I'm out on the lash. I can believe that, Dan.
Definitely. You had to look up on what out on the lash meant. Bless him.
Probably.
Oh, is that we have a second Larry? We have two Larrys.
We have two Larrys.
Oh no.
Two Larrys. Hey. It's like that Simpsons episode when
there
he is. There he is.
Hi. Right, there we go. Back in the room. It's going to be a funny. It's going to be a great podcast tonight. So hopefully that sorts it all out.
Yeah.
I think Jess needs a reboot as well.
Do I?
So yeah. Anyway, I sort of like midweek. I was suddenly, I suddenly had heat exhaustion because it's just been too damn hot in this country at the moment. I mean, a lot of like there's a lot of reasons to take the piss out of Britons, but up towards the top is like the complete inability to deal with hot weather. it has been particularly hot, especially on Friday. I think on Friday it would reach 34 degrees. But I went to the cinema on the Thursday, I think, when it was something like 28. And I just hadn't had enough water. And I was just I have this thing where I just don't drink water when I'm about to go to the cinema because I don't want to have a wee break. I just want to watch the entire film from start to finish. But the bad thing with that is that it's really bad health wise apparently. So I came back from the cinema from a particularly bad film, which I'll talk about later. Just completely sort of dazed and confused, and just instinctually just going back home, and just kind of it's weird because I've never had heat exhaustion before or anything like that. So it was a mysterious sort of sickness that I had, and I was like, "Oh, is this how it all ends?" I'm very melodramatic in my head, so I'm just "Oh god," and then just threw up a few times, and then just recovered afterwards. The day afterwards, and I'm feeling better now. But yeah, so that was a bit shit. But
little bit of sun in Britain, and everyone's nearly dead.
Yeah,
isn't it? So,
exactly.
Yeah.
So there we go. Yeah, Larry, what have you been up to?
Watching. So me and my dad have been binge watching Stranger Things from season 1 because he's never seen any of it. So we've got one more episode of number 4 to go again. And then as we were watching it, the only thing I've been up to is I think I bombarded Ewan at 1 a.m. in the morning with lots of theories.
That was so funny because I was basically nodding off to sleep, and Lawrence at this point was just wired and just sort of just giving me video after video of various theories that he had, and I was
wow.
I just thought it was great. I was I could see that. I could see that.
They're good. I hope that they come true. But where we had been watching the episodes, I just sat there and was like, when you're just thinking about it and you don't know where to put that. So I was just like, you, and it's going to you. I was like, video. I think I sent about 10 or 12 videos.
I think it was about 10. Yeah.
All with different theories for volume 2 of season 4.
Yeah.
So
your eyes were so wide.
I know. I was really like, "Whoa, this is what's gonna happen."
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, nice. Wow.
Productive.
I've not seen series 3 or 4, so I am saving them. Plus, I don't have Netflix at the moment, which is a bit annoying. But I will get round to it. So, shall we talk about this Friday the 13th from 2009?
Sure.
A group of young adults visit a boarded-up campsite named Crystal Lake, where they soon encounter the mysterious Jason Voorhees and his deadly intentions. Had any of you seen this before? I had.
No.
Yeah.
Okay. Have you seen the original Friday the 13th, Jess?
No.
Okay.
I have not.
Ewan?
Well, I had seen the first one a few years ago. I had very little memory of it, and I watched the next 2, so part 2 and part 3, in the week leading up to this one.
Oh, great. So you understand the transition between a bag on your head. To,
yeah.
Was it a bag on his head, or was it?
In the second one, it's a bag on his head, and then in the third one, he evolves to the mask.
So it's directed by Marcus Nispel. I think he did the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake.
Yeah, so the 2003 remake.
Yeah, so he did that, and then they gave him this. Starred, oh God, I'm not even going to say. It starred someone as Clay, because I can't read my writing. Danielle
Padalecki, I think.
Yeah, Padalecki. Daniela Panbecker as Jenna, and Derek Mears as Jason. Budget was 19 million with a box office of 92 million, so quite successful. And what do you think of the Rotten Tomato score? Jess?
I saw it because it was
Okay, so
I
you
vaguely
know.
remember around what it was.
Okay. You and any ideas if you look? Because this is the only bit of fun I get in this podcast now. So asking you guys. And Dan's hot pick, obviously.
It's funny because on the Amazon Prime thing, they give the Amazon rating and the IMDb rating.
Is there an Amazon rating?
Yeah, from people who rate it.
Okay.
When they've seen it, I think it was rated something stupidly like 4.5 stars out of 5 or something like that. I think IMDb went for considerably lower, something in the 6 point something. So maybe it scraped 50%.
I was going to say that as well. I'm thinking in the 50s.
They gave it 26, Ron. Because I would have it a lot higher. I really enjoyed this film actually, and I will go into why in a bit. It's right up my street. There's not much to misunderstand, is there? So I got this. Maybe Larry can give me his version, but I think I got this film. I think I've got it. So obviously, Dan's put on here in the group chat. Jason's my go-to guy. He loves Friday the 13th. I think we all do, don't we?
The originals.
I do.
Still even with me. I'm not. Yeah.
Jason Risen is very good as well.
Was that the fan made one?
Yeah,
was that the
fan made one?
They did pretty well, to be fair, on that one.
I don't know if it's the same director that did the writer I know who was in the kind of Nightmare on Elm Street one.
Oh yeah.
I think it might be the same director. I've got a funny feeling.
Possibly.
Yeah.
If it is, it kind of makes sense because they kind of have a similar vibe to them both.
It's called Up All Night, Dan. If you haven't seen it, it's on YouTube. Up All Night. I know the main character quite well. But have a watch. I'm going to tell you what I liked about this. Okay. The character Brie. I wanted more character development from her, and I wanted to see a lot more. I thought
which one was Brie?
She was the third. She was the one that kind of was sleeping with Trent, the horrible lad.
Yeah.
I wanted more character development there. I thought I enjoyed the character. Killed off 2 weeks. Oh, she was shot, wasn't she? Was she shot by Trent through the door?
Not by Trent. She was already dead.
Yeah, she was already dead by Jason.
Was she already dead?
She was killed by Jason. Yeah.
I thought
she was like attached to the back of the door. Like
Jason kind of like.
I didn't know if he had left her like injured, and she'd fallen down because she was blocking the door, and then he shot through the door, and I was, well, maybe there is some confusion in this for me. Yeah, okay, this changes things, right? A bit more technical than I thought. Well done, director. I liked some of the kills. Right, I love that one where he's impaled on the back of the truck. I think that is amazing. What a kill! Sticking him on there, and he drives off with him on there, didn't he? So
yeah, I want to see more of that guy, the old man.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Like he clearly knows what's going on.
He knew what was going on, but he was. Did he get killed? No, he did drive off, didn't he?
Yeah, he just drove off.
Yeah, I don't know where he went.
Could have called the police. He could have called the police, but apparently only one police officer works in that general area. So.
One police officer gets called to a homicide, goes to check it out, and then when he doesn't return or call anyone back, no one goes out.
No, I saw there's a deleted scene. There were some deleted scenes I've seen, and there is a couple of police. I don't know. I don't think you saw that in that film. And I saw the extended version. Did you watch that?
No, I think I watched the regular one.
Now, just into Jason, he seems to have been doing okay for himself. He seemed to, in the tunnel, he'd wired it all up. So he's obviously done maybe an electrician's course or something along those lines, because there was lots of lights, and it was all, like he'd been living there. I don't know what he'd been eating and things. There's all these questions running through my head. But how he got on all that, doesn't he? He does what? He has
a shrine. Shrine to
his mum. He was very different, his mum, to the original. And also, he did keep that woman, didn't he? It was the first time I'd ever seen him keep someone alive.
Well,
because he thought it was his mum. Is that right?
Well, yeah, kind of. I mean, it's in terms of that long anyway. I mean, it was sort of because again, this film I read about later, and it kind of makes sense in that they try and compress the first 4 original movies into one, basically.
Into the first half, isn't it?
Yeah,
They try desperately to just go through like first one's the mum, second one's the bag, third one we're onto the mask.
And I think I read that him keeping her down there is a kind of a nod to part 2, where Jason gets confused when he thinks that the girl is his mum and the girl's trying to pretend to be a mum. So it's a kind of a nod to that, I think.
Yeah. Okay, that makes more sense now. So I didn't think about it as hard as I probably should have.
But
there you
go. I kind of empathize with that, to be honest, because I was watching it and I was trying to, and keep in mind I'd watched part 2 and 3 before, like, days before watching this one. I was watching this. I was like, why is she keeping her alive? Or why is he keeping her alive? And it's apparently it's because she has the locket with the mother's face in it, and apparently this girl resembles the mother, and that's why he keeps. But I actually didn't get that when I was watching it, and I was quite confused. And I was like, it was only afterwards when I read about it that I was like able to sort of, right, okay. So it wasn't. I kind of agree, Kev, that I didn't get that, and I think that's not down to ambiguity or enigma. I think it's just lack of clarity by the director.
Well, I always worry because I don't get half the stuff I'm meant to, but maybe I'll still try and watch Triangle, to be honest. So yeah, what else did I like before I let you guys go? I watched a deleted scene, some deleted scenes on my Blu-ray. Larry's probably seen this one. Do you know the guy who finds all the cannabis? I think he's selling it. The weird kind of redneck. Is that you allowed to say redneck? I don't know.
It's okay.
Yeah. Now there is a scene. It's a different kill scene, I think, because he's smoking a joint. He makes one and he finds that mask. Yeah. Do you know the actual hockey mask? So he's actually killed with that. His head gets taken clean off with that mask on. So there is a scene. So yeah, Jason comes down the stairs of that. He's in a barn or something, isn't he? And he's got the mask on, this guy, and he just chops his head clean off. And it's quite good, but that the result of his head on the floor isn't that great. Doesn't look amazing. Maybe that's why they dropped it. But then he just takes the mask and swaps it over. I think before he just found the other one on the shelf, did he? And Jason puts that hockey mask on. So that was that. And it was quite interesting scene, actually. And I honestly think the end of that film is so tense, especially the scene where they're getting chased down a tunnel and they come up through the bus that's on its side. And I loved all that. I think that was absolutely superb. And that was actually quite scary. I thought, well, that's getting there. You can feel how tense the film is, especially sat there in the dark on your own watching it. So it's great. I'm not going to rattle on too much because I want Jess to tell me what she thought of this. And I really like it because I've watched, I think I didn't say this, but I think it's the 12th installment of Friday the 13th. So you got those, I've got the 8 box set, and then you've got Jason Goes to Hell, which is not that good, I don't think. And Jason X, which is okay. Then you got that Freddy versus Jason one. Jason X, I don't mind. Do you actually like Jason Goes to Hell, Larry? No.
I like Freddy versus Jason though.
Yeah. I think also I think the writers who wrote this Friday the 13th were also wrote Freddy versus Jason as well.
Did they?
Okay. I think so. Or at least one of them.
Can we do that soon, Freddy versus Jason?
Yeah, I love it. I love that film.
Yeah.
I think it's actually quite written for a horror with 2 iconic characters. I think it's written quite well, that one.
I've got I've got a review here. Stephen sent this in. More like Friday the 19th. Right?
Very good.
And one from Paul as well. You'll like that.
What a part
It's
of
like-
for you go.
He's like a Spinal Tap review.
So you see what I had to put up with on this podcast. So Jess, what are you thinking? What did you enjoy? What the kills? Did you enjoy? Did you watch this with young Shane? Did he watch it
No,
with
I
you?
watched this by myself.
On your own, okay.
As soon as I woke up
Young
this morning.
Shane. That
Young
sounds like
Shane.
something out of
Did
an
you
old
buy it?
Western film.
Yeah.
Is that an old
Yeah.
Western? Is
Yeah,
that
Shane.
from an old Western
Yeah.
film? Young
Shane is an old Western from the 50s, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a cowboy name, isn't it, Shane? Like Clint. Do you know what I mean?
Where have I was it in Logan?
It
His
is
dad-
in Logan.
Yeah,
Yeah,
His
that's
dad
where.
called Clint.
No.
His dad called Clint. No.
His dad called Clint. What a question.
Young.
Is he there, young Shane?
No.
Oh, right.
Sorry, just every time, just young Shane.
Come on, Jess.
Right. I don't like gore, so
There wasn't
I
that
spent-
much gore, is it, in this? Really? It's not like Terrifier. We've got Terrifier 2 to do soon.
I spent a lot of time looking away from the screen.
Oh, okay.
Um,
But you're on your own as well.
yeah. Yeah. I had to watch it at my desk as well because when I looked it up, it said it was on Prime. But when
Yeah.
I went on Prime, it wasn't on there.
Oh.
I have
But
that
you had to
problem a
pay
lot.
for it.
Usually
Oh,
it's
yeah,
like
You didn't pay
sometimes
for
they
it,
get US and
No.
UK sometimes mixed up as well.
did you?
Internet Plus, you know.
Yeah.
Um, So yeah, but I did like it. I felt like the beginning scene was quite long. So
Is this the 20-minute thing?
Yeah, that was long,
yeah,
wasn't
'cause
it?
when the what's it called? The title came up, I was like, really? Like, because that felt like I was really far into the film, and yeah, it was like 20 odd minutes in.
It's young Shane, Dan, not small Shane. All right, just for clarity.
Anyways,
Blimey!
Why's Jess got a pair of... What is on your cup? It's like a pair
It's an
of
arse.
arse cheeks. Oh, okay.
it's-
Oh, God, what a podcast tonight. You need to... Where were we?
good film,
Bloody
very
damn.
gory, too gory for me.
Okay. But you enjoyed it.
Uh,
Best
I
kill.
did, yeah. Ooh. I did like it when he was coming up behind in the opening sequence and she was trying to free his leg from the trap and he just straight in the noggin.
That's a nice kill.
That was pretty good. Yeah.
Okay.
Although I did find it a bit weird that in that sequence, with one of them, the first guy that he kills, he chops his ear off, like his ears, just on the ground with one of his headphones still in.
I'm not sure.
Yeah,
I don't remember that either, but there'd be a reason for it.
Yeah, but
Larry
I didn't
probably
notice
know.
him chopping off anyone else's.
It's aliens.
Aliens.
Okay.
I did that in Predator, didn't he? No, one of them collected ears, didn't he? Was that Predator? Am I thinking of another film with someone collecting ears? There's definitely a film I've seen with someone collecting ears and they had them all on a necklace. Anyway, you're getting it, Larry, aren't you?
I'm trying to think because I
There
think
definitely is a thing.
there is a film, yeah, where that does happen. But I'm trying to
Second Pirates of the
rack my
Caribbean
brain.
movie.
It might have been.
But I
Dan,
think I was fingers.
Dan, no. All right, Ewan. Let's move on to you. 'Cause-
Okay. Right. So I, as I said, I watched the previous Friday the 13th, and I have to say I wasn't a big fan of them because it's that classic thing of sort of, I suppose, cheapness and schlockiness mixed with not that much actually happening. In the sense that, so guy clearly like mentally disturbed just starts knifing everyone, or at least from part 2 onwards. And it seems to me that what really annoyed me about the originals actually is that I just don't care about any of the characters, like in any capacity. So watching them die, I'm just like, okay, he's knocked off, she's knocked off, done.
I was upset about Brie.
Okay, but this is the thing, actually. So,
I was really upset. I thought she was great. Probably the most likable character in it.
Yeah,
other than Keanu Reeves' character.
Yeah. What?
You know what one I mean?
Jared Padalecki.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay. Well, this is the interesting thing is that in this one, they did provide likable characters. Funnily enough, I think. Well. Yeah. Interesting, but to me anyway, in that there were two. So this is funny. Lawrence, you mentioned the actor's name. I think maybe last time, Jared Padalecki, and you mentioned that he was on Supernatural.
Yes.
I haven't seen Supernatural.
Was he?
Oh wow!
Yeah, he was
Never seen Supernatural.
Yeah, I haven't seen Supernatural, but what I know him best from is being Dean from Gilmore Girls. So in my mind, he's still Dean, basically. From Gilmore Girls, he's the
just
sort
taking
of like,
a trip. Just taking a trip.
Yeah. He's the kind of like the sort of hunky, sensitive type who's quite tall and he'll protect you, sort of guy. So I just that's probably half the reason why I liked this character, and I kind of and you sort of see him, he's sort of motoring into this, like he's trying to find his sister who's gone missing for 6 weeks, who was taken by Jason. And then he bumps into this group of wannabe weed dealers who are trying to find great weed in these forests. He bumps into them. It's funny how some of the characters are kind of like almost like impersonations of famous actors. So Trent, for example, is like a very aggressive Tom Cruise in some ways. He's sort of like he's the sort of arsehole of the entire film, and he gets into a sort of like
he's a proper arsehole, wasn't he?
Yeah. So I mean, almost sort of unbelievably so, if you know what I mean. He's just sort of like, it's almost like a script writer's like, just say something really arseholey here without any motivation. So when he's trying to sort of like, isn't it Jared Padalecki's name's Clay in this film, and he tries to like tell the store owner, oh, can I put these missing posters up? And then Trent behind him was like, oh, come on, get out of the line. And just like, really? It's just sort of, yeah. But weirdly, I kind of like that, because I think there's a sort of Gilmore Girls-esque tone to it in some ways, in that there's like, oh, it's two massive men fighting each other. I don't know. There's something weirdly appealing about that. And following his story is actually more interesting than the rest of the film, like following his arc. And I think that's this film actually really benefits from that. But when it cuts back to the wannabe weed dealers trying to find the weed, sort of camping out, there's a point where it's a really weird scene. It's like it's copying from David Lynch's Blue Velvet, where it's like one of the characters goes, do you want a Heineken? No, I don't want a Heineken. I have a Pabst Blue Ribbon. And I'm just like, this is like really badly taken off from the Blue Velvet script. And I know that's a really specific thing, and obviously I know that because it's like I'm a big David Lynch fan, but it's like I'm just like, and I read a sort of a GQ article where it said this, and I think the article said it just shows the sort of laziness of the writing. I was like, yeah, exactly. It's a really sort of lazy point. And then eventually you get to the killings. It amazes me that this is Trent's parents' house. That is like the main sort of place of action, and he's really worried about people ruining it because it's like his parents' place and stuff like that. It amazes me how they can live so close to where Jason is set up, and like Jason must have seen them in however long that they've been there.
Yeah.
But Jason's like, oh, I don't want to be a nosy neighbor. I'll just stay where I am.
Stay in my tunnel.
Yeah, stay in my tunnel. Just like building traps and stuff, and I'll just stay here, in my shrine and stuff like that.
There's a lot that doesn't make sense with all that.
Yeah.
Who paid the electric bill?
Yeah.
Lots.
Yeah, and then it's classic stuff really. So the teens like get drunk, they get high, they have sex with each other. It's funny seeing like Michael Bay's name attached to this film. It's from his company, I think.
Yes. June, is it something June or something like that?
It's something, I think it begins with P. I think it's like
Platinum June,
maybe I don't know.
Platinum, yeah, I don't know.
But yeah, it's funny seeing that his name there, because you can kind of see. To be fair, I haven't seen a lot of Michael Bay movies, so maybe you can sort of pick me up on this, Lawrence. But from stuff that I've read about his work, is that he has a kind of a sort of terrible and pornographic sense of humor. And I felt this a lot with this film in particular. Now, in all fairness, it is a product of its time. I don't expect a lot of these sort of male-made horror movies to be especially like feminist-driven or anything like that, and nor am I like spearheading that. But you've got so many scenes where it's just like, oh, just like there's this one really annoying scene where they're camping out, and it's like it's a couple and a third wheel there, and the woman is behind it, and she just takes her top off and starts like putting oil on her chest, and you're just like, what I mean, and I think you've got something jazzy going on in the music, and it's just like this is just like the start of a porn movie. And I know that makes me sound really like conservative, but if you've seen porn movies, they pretty much start like that. I'm sorry, it does. And then you've got the scene later when Trent is having sex with is it Brie, you said?
Yeah, it was good.
Which again is sort of, I don't know. It's just, I don't know. You're watching it and you're sort of like, the director is making me go, oh yes, this is great, and you just like, I'm just like, I don't know. I was like, I can get this off, better places on the internet.
I really like the sports element with the water skiing and things as well. I thought that was all very good.
Yeah, but why did she take her top off?
It
doesn't make sense.
Bloody hot.
And then like the worst shot of the film is when when Jason finds the them on the boat and they're water skiing, whatever, and she topless like hides from her like under the sort of the pier or whatever.
Oh yeah, I know.
And then Jason finds her and he sort of like sticks up, I don't know what, needle, and then pulls her up.
Machete, then pulls her up,
and it's such a sort of unnecessarily just pulls her up, and it like reveals her tits coming out of the water, and I'm just like, this is so like horrible. It's not
I was going to say I quite liked that scene, but then I was paying more attention to her head and the blood.
Right, yeah, but I was just, I don't know. It just felt like really kind of like, oh, it's a weird thing with a lot of like, I don't know, that sort of like kind of director, where it's like, I don't know, it's kind of like sex and death, they're equivalent, and you're just like, not really into that.
It's unnecessary. A lot of the nudity. I think
but it's not even the fact that it's there. I just feel like it's not serving any purpose other than, look how sexy she is. It's just like,
it's not tasteful. Is that the word? Like,
yeah, and as you say, there were no penises, and it's that classic sort of like imbalanced sexism.
I think if they just balanced it out, put some cocks in it, it'd have been all right. But like,
maybe, but you can see the camera just leering at the women, and the women have
I know.
And they have no like character in any like. I would say especially. I mean, they come out of the car like they've just come out of a photo shoot, and they've just sort of like their hair, even though it's like really hot Southern American weather, their hair's done perfectly, and they've got perfect makeup, and the only thing that's like true to that weather is that they've got like short shorts and stuff like that, and they just so sort of like, the only character they display is when they're when a knife wielding maniac comes and tries to get them, but they have nothing other than sort of like, oh no, yeah, I am gonna go with Trent, even though he has a girlfriend who apparently he's completely forgotten about like halfway through the film, and it's just I don't know, it felt it sort of felt a bit gross,
but they weren't on their phones all the time.
No, well, this is sort of pre-smartphones.
But now they'd be on their phones now all the time. It'd been a totally different film. They'd been posting everything.
Well, according to sort of like, well, this is the interesting thing about like, I mean, this is a bit off tangent, but movies made by people who aren't millennials or Gen Zers trying to sort of say, oh yeah, look, social media is taking over all our social interaction, which, you know, as a broad statement is kind of true, but that doesn't like negate a lot of like millennial experiences. They are in the moment a lot, but you see, but anyway, it's sort of yeah. So I was watching it, and the only redeeming feature of this film is the arc with Clay. I kind of enjoyed it when his character was on stage. And then you got certain like weird things where you've got, I mean, the only black character in the film, his like first lines are just to do with being black, and you're just like, oh, again, probably a product of the time, and I shouldn't look too much on it, but it was a bit sort of like, I don't know, it was just a bit odd. But yeah, following the progress of Clay, I was kind of rooting for him, and the sort of conflict with Trent, I kind of enjoyed in some ways. But it's still got that problem I have with Friday the 13th. It's just watching people you don't like just getting killed, and I know that's probably why people flock to it, and it was just sort of it's just like, oh yeah, watch these horrible people get killed. I'm just like, yeah, but I don't care anything about, so why would I wasn't really scared during this film. Even during the tunnel sequence, I thought it was shot quite nicely. It was you know, some of the scenes were quite choreographed quite well, but I don't know, I feel like with Jason's story there's no real I feel like there's no real character to Jason, personally. At least if you compare him to other sort of masked slashers like Michael Myers, for example. I think Michael Myers has a lot more.
Kane Hodder would have done a better job, I think. Like, I think
sorry?
he would have looked Kane Hodder. He plays, what is he, number 5, 6, 7?
4, 5, 6, I think.
Okay, he's a lot more menacing, and he carries it well. Obviously, Jason becomes very large.
Yeah,
I like it, the way he moves and things. It wasn't quite like that in this. He was running around a lot, to be honest. I think Jason, I've not kind of seen him run before.
Yeah, but I feel like just Jason. I mean, again, I've only seen. Sorry, that's me. Sorry.
No, I was gonna say, I was like, someone's house is burning.
I don't think it's a fire alarm. I think it's something outside. So
I don't think it's the fire alarm. I just think it's the front door.
No. But yeah, weirdly, I don't have the same sort of attachment to Jason as I do, because I watched the first 3, as I say, and I was like, this is just a disturbed guy just like slashing people in sort of interesting ways. But it's just like, I don't know, I've got nothing like attached to him. With Halloween, you've kind of got that starter off where you're just sort of that great like introductory first shot of Halloween where it's a point of view killing, and you get some sort of attachment to the monster. Whereas with Jason, or at least the ones that I've seen, I just don't have that attachment, and it's just like a shade. It's almost like I mean, they try and treat it like it's a sort of like he's like a folk tale, that Jason's like a folk tale, like he's in a forest and he'll get you sort of thing. But other than that, I don't really have any kind of fear attached to him in that way. And I think that's why a lot of the sort of like when they were sort of like trying to make me feel scared, I just wasn't really. Also another example of like we've talked about this before with like the Evil Dead remake, where it is just remaking a really low budgeted horror movie, but with a lot of money. It kind of, I don't know. For me, it kind of doesn't work because it's sort of I just feel like. I also feel like the camp. This is basically me just sort of like stripping down the entire franchise, but it's like I feel like camp is again not a very scary location for me personally. I feel like they're trying like previously they've tried to sort of like take off from like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's in the middle of nowhere, and you don't know what kind of characters you'll meet and stuff like that. But with a sort of a camp-like setting, something's already set up there already. So clearly there's some civilization there. And it's funny how in like subsequent Friday the 13th movies, there's like other camps like around it. So clearly there are people there, yet they're trying to sort of make it out as if it's like in the arse end of nowhere, and there's no one but Hicks there, and it's just like, I don't know, you're just like, I couldn't gain any sort of like geography or mythology, and I know you're not meant to take these movies too seriously, and I know the Friday the 13th, the original ones, were just sort of low budget, and I'm pretty sure they weren't meant to make as much as they did, and they just flew off, and it was great. But it was I don't know, I feel like I sort of in a similar way that I did with Evil Dead, in that it's a good achievement for the money they made, but it's sort of
Well, I kind
sort
of get the feeling you don't really like this film. I don't know. I was never you're getting that feeling, Larry. It's...
I will say I was never bored, but
yeah,
which is a good thing for this film. But I did spend a lot of it just going, oh god. But yeah, so yeah.
Right, Larry, did you like this film? No.
Shaking his head.
Yeah, no,
so I don't want to hear any negativity. So I just want to hear. I've had enough of that from you, and so let's have some positive points, Larry.
I will actually. So I'll start actually with the positives.
Yeah, is that it?
That was going to be my joke, but no. To be fair, like with the older franchise to start with, I think that the first film was kind of like a. Want to say it right, for bait and switch, is that what it's called, where it made you think one thing and then it was kind of a very nice little twist at the end of it's not Jason. It's not Jason.
It's like Psycho,
and it did this thing where I think a lot of people who probably went to see it, especially at the time when it was released, probably the shock of it being at the end of like, oh shit, it's his mum taking revenge, where they say throughout the whole film like, oh, Jason died here and he drowned in the lake while people weren't. And I like that. But it's always baffled me since that first film why they've never done a film where they're actually in camp properly with the kids while it goes on. And I just think that there is such an opportunity to do a really scary and intense and very tension all the way through of camp counselors, which are characters that are written, I don't know, well, and actually have stuff to do. Because the thing that gets me about this is that I am actually a huge fan of the Michael Bay produced Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the 2003 one, because I think it understood and went, okay, we're not going to just try and copy the original. Let's do this story and work upon what works in that film. Now, I'm not saying it's a perfect film. It really isn't. But it understood, okay, we need to do this element right. We need to do the horror right. We need to make, the characters who are all around creepy. And with this film, I feel as though one person watched the couple of Friday the 13th and went, oh, got it. And they went, what is it about? What can we do? And they went, sex. Sex. More sex.
Sorry, Dad just commented. Maybe Larry and Ewan should take a sip from the ass cup. They need to loosen up. Jason Rules. Is that what taking from the sip from the ass cup does? Does it loosen you up?
I don't know.
Well, that's it. But go into that as well. It's not Jason that's the issue in this film. The way they did Jason in this film, I actually don't mind. They make him run. They make him a lot faster. They make him smart in that he set up traps where he can get from A to B. I don't think that's an issue. I do think that there are issues with how has he done this? And I would have liked something. I wouldn't have had if someone had just been like, oh, did you know there's an old mine and there's like tunnels, just anything rather than, oh, it's a tunnel that he's clearly just digged out for like fucking 4 years.
Yeah, and that Trent's parents had no idea about. I mean, that takes like heavy construction.
This is you mentioned it earlier.
I think you're looking into this too much. I was trying to get my head around some of the stuff he had actually excavated and wired up, and all the stuff he would have to get, and paying the bills and feeding that girl for 6 weeks, and all that.
I can forgive that. I can forgive that element because I can go like, all right, whatever. Maybe someone else, make it up in your head like it's
you had a friend.
I don't know, probably. But what gets me is that somebody sat down and went on their computer with a pen and paper and went, Friday the 13th for this new reimagining. Let's not even be in the camp for half of it. Let's go to Trent's house and watch Trent fuck someone while his girlfriend bangs on the door and says, Trent, there's a killer on the loose. While Trent then just responds, go away. It's just like, what is going on? Like, these characters are just...
There was no good. There was such a potential conflict there, even though it's so cliched and whatever. They could have at least have I don't know, Trent being possessive of his girlfriend or whatever while he cheats on her. It's just like she knocks. He doesn't even care. He's still He's still sleeping with her, and equally she doesn't care.
Yeah, she can clearly hear it. She can hear it.
She doesn't care either. And it's just like, what is the relationship of these characters? But
yeah,
anyway.
And it's just. I completely agree. Like, and the thing is that as we just spoke about, like the opening, again, everything with Jason isn't the issue because the shot that like Jess mentioned where the guy has the bear trap on his leg and he gets done in the head, and then there's like an amazing shot which I think is probably the one shot of the film where I'm like, that should have been your go-to, where she tries to crawl away and he just legs it at the screen and it like cuts right before, and it's like that, like, oh shit, this guy is just, if he sees you, he's coming for you. And they do this like odd thing where instead of just going, okay, let's work on some good characters in this camp before or after camp and let's have fun, they instead like do this weird thing where they're like, let's watch this guy go into a garage and look for something for about 15 fucking minutes of your time, where you're just like, we know he's gonna die. Like, and that's my biggest issue with it. And it's not even trying to be
screwdriver or something.
Yeah, it was something like that. And then he ends up like, getting held up against a wall and then getting up, punctured through his throat. And I'm there thinking like, for me personally, it's a shame because I feel like what happened is there was a lot of miscommunication with this film in that they went, it's what happened with Nightmare on Elm Street, the remake, which is why that is equally shit, because
they do that again soon.
They looked at the old films and it's almost like somebody goes like, oh, it's too campy. It's not going to work. And it's like, okay, what do we do? Well, let's just pick the elements that work. And similarly to Nightmare on Elm Street, how they messed that remake up is because Robert Englund is like, he just invokes Freddy. It's the stupid lines, the quick rhymes, this is how you're going to die. Let me say a sentence that is really comedy-esque with that. And in the newer ones, they're like, we'll strip him from all of that and we'll make him just this grisly guy. And it's like, well, great. And it's this film, what they've done is they've gone, what made Friday the 13th great? And it's like, okay, there are many things, but instead they just go like, oh, fucking and death. And it's like, and I swear, like, I always get really agitated when people say about Friday the 13th, they go, but that's the point. Like, it's camp counselors having sex. It's like, that's mentioned once in the first film because they weren't paying attention to Jason while he drowned. And everyone just thinks, oh, in order to do a good Friday the 13th film, you have to have these characters be brain dead and end up just fucking. And it's the opening scene alone, they're walking through this forest and you're like, okay, these characters, right, let's see if we can get in, let's see what we can. And it's just this guy basically going around, I think he's from bloody a film called She's the Man. I think it's the actor, and he's just there like going around doing this like over the top thing, like going like, I know it's around here, my tracker. Oh, and you're just like, I don't give a fuck.
That's another thing. That's another thing actually. That I mentioned before that that a lot of the characters feel like they're impersonations of like famous actors. There was that they bumped the part of the team. I mean, one of them looks like Matthew McConaughey in Dazed and Confused. That's sort of like, that sort of short blonde hair. But then also there was that guy they meet, or that Clay meets, the guy that operates the wood chipper. Yeah. Obviously, no context around that at all. It's just a guy in a barn with a wood chipper. No idea why he's there, whatever. But he was very Woody Harrelson, I thought.
Yeah,
just like copied and pasted.
I mean, the best way to sum it up for me personally, and it's this to me was the one scene in this film where I was like, this sums up this whole film. There is a scene where a character is in Trent's house and is sat by himself, and anybody who's ever written anything or even thought of a story in their head or even just likes films and books, whatever, you'd think, what can this character in this moment do? Maybe he can find something out. Maybe there's a cool action chase scene. Maybe we do the horror. Nah, instead, he looks at a magazine that is about homeware and decides to masturbate. And I, for one, just think, what
hedonism, Lawrence. It's the hedonism of the youth of today.
It's just. No, I need a homeware magazine. That's what I need if I want to.
We don't need ass cups. We need homeware.
No, it's just. I feel
on that ass cup, boy.
I feel that phrase could be clipped. You need to get on that. What I really hope for in the future is that somebody can actually sit down, look at the story, because the originals, as much as they are campy, at least they kind of, they might not be everyone's cup of tea. Like, I love the Nightmare on Elm Streets, but there's one or two that just doesn't, the old ones that don't really do it for me, but I just wish that somebody would sit down and go, instead of immediately going, oh, fuck these characters, they're all brain dead idiots who just want to fucking smoke weed and drink. It's like, you can have those elements, but don't make your characters that. Like, don't make character one who gets killed in the beginning. What's his motivation? Tits and ass. Like, it's just, I don't know. And like Ewan said, that wouldn't even be an issue because the original has some of that in the sense of, people going, oh, we want to have sex. But in this film, it's basically just porn at some points. Like, there is literally a whole scene that goes on way too long of two people fucking in a tent. That you could have showed 2 seconds of it just to kind of go, oh, what are these characters doing? This, and instead it's just but they miss out on a huge opportunity, huge opportunities with some of the deaths. The one death that I really like is when the guy falls off the jet ski and looks in the water, and you just see the arrow go dop. And then it's just Jason almost going like, done, let's go. And it's I
like
shame.
How he picked up skills of archery as well.
Yeah. Well, he went to camp, didn't he?
Of course, yeah.
But no, I don't know. I just want somebody to write a good Friday the 13th film where it centers on the actual camp. It can be before or after, but I just feel like having the same script just churned out where it's like, oh, look, Jason's this big old guy with a mask on. It's like, okay, that's like an element to it. What's the story? And I hate it how some people just miss the story, and that's why I agree with you completely that the one element of this film that works so well is Jared Padalecki, because you go, oh, he's looking for his missing sister, and you actually care. And he's the only character who doesn't turn around every 5 seconds and go like, I want to smoke, I want to fuck. And it's just, it's a
also,
shame.
It's also you say about like wanting them to write something, because they've the Friday the 13th franchise has been in sort of like recent arrears, because there's not been another Friday the 13th movie after this one, because there's been a sort of a long lawsuit between Victor Miller, who wrote the originals, and the company that Sean S. Cunningham has, who I think directed the first one, or at least produced the first one. And Sean S. Cunningham's company wants the rights to Jason, but Victor Miller was like, "Well, this is the character that I wrote," and they were like, "Yeah, but you worked for us, so it's our character." And I was like, "No, but I wrote it,"
Yeah.
And apparently recently Miller's won that thing. So clearly, I maybe something will be made, and maybe he'll rise it up. I don't know.
I think my final thing on this, just to clarify how much this script goes into this sort of stuff. There is a scene in this film where Jason goes into this like cabin, and there's this like, almost maybe like redneck woodland guy who's clearly like, living by himself, and he has this like shack. And he goes in, and you see around the place, you see there's loads of objects, and machete and the infamous mask. And in my head, when I first watched it, I thought, great, good scene where he's going to kill this guy and maybe take it. But before they even do that, they just have to slip in another sex thing where the guy looks at a mannequin and is like, "Oh, hey, baby, yeah, fucking, basically, I fucked you last night." And it's like, why? It's just like, why? This is not what... I don't
think we're ever going to understand American culture, to be honest with you.
Oh, but no, even worse than that. But even worse than that is beforehand, when he has the porn mag, and he's like tonguing the woman in the mag. And I'm just like,
you got to see the deleted scene. Then it gets worse. He's licking the magazine cover, mate.
It's
just licking that cover.
I feel as though whoever, if they're going to do another one, whoever's going to do it, and if it is by the original guy, matey who created the character, I wouldn't, it'd be cool to see something with a good story. Heard the lawsuit's done and gone. Let's make some Jason.
Yeah, Dan's but heard the lawsuit is done and gone, and let's make some Jason movies with lots of IKEA brochures. I love IKEA brochures, sexy? Dan. They are very, very sexy, and we like tables and chairs on the podcast. So it's very nice, mate. Very nice. So let's get down the boners then. So I'm going to give it 7. Larry. I like this film.
Don't start with me. Do me last. Do me last.
This ticks all the boxes. So for me, Jess, what are you giving it?
Do me last, because I'm going to have a think.
I'm
tempted to give it an 8, but I'm going 7.
5.
Oh, okay. Bit of a disappointment, Jess, but there you go. Right, so you're in.
That before.
So I would say it's a 4 from me, which I think is actually generous. Because at the end of the day, even though I didn't like a lot of it, I was still broadly entertained. And again, I wasn't bored throughout it. I wasn't like looking at the time or whatever. So on balance, I was tempted to give it less. I probably would have given it less if it weren't for Dean from Gilmore Girls. But yeah, it'll be a 4 from me.
I'm gonna have to say 3. And the reason why generally is because it's not Jason, and it's not what they did with Jason, because I think Jason in this film is actually the highlight for me. And I also think that Jared Padalecki and his storyline is really good. But I just think that, if I'm rating a film genuinely on if I'm enjoying it, I found that with this film, sadly, it is just literally like, it's just porn. It's just porn and weed jokes and characters who like just don't do what you'd ever do in those scenarios. And I don't know. I feel as though there are other remakes and reimaginings. Like, again, you mentioned earlier about Evil Dead remake, and I completely disagree because but just because
I love that film.
I think that what that film capitalizes on is something that Evil Dead was renowned for. So I don't think it's like a perfect story, but I think that what that film does very well as a reimagining takes the element of Evil Dead 1 and goes, what made this really good? Oh, the effects and the low budgetness and, like this, scary kind of tension-driven scenes. And I think that it amped that with new technology, but also new practical effects. Whereas this film doesn't. It just goes tits, boobs, weed, drink, kill, and make sure you show tits and boobs while you're getting killed. So sadly,
it might as well be renamed Tits and Blood.
Tits and Blood, a Jason story.
Okay, so it's not loved by everyone, but yeah, is it probably the worst film we've done recently? Then sounds like it.
It's on par with the one I picked. I think that one time.
What?
What has happened to Free? Jess is now my favourite person in the world. Have I upset you now, Dan? Oh dear. So
because Jess gets all the shit.
Anyway, did anyone watch Dan's hot pick? Because it confused the hell out of me. So have you watched it, Larry?
I didn't have chance.
Oh my god.
I will do.
Okay. No, well, it's a bit late now. We're just about to do it. So
no spoilers.
Well, we've got to. So let's move on to Dan's hot pick.
Did we all go the wrong way?
No, you got there.
I went the wrong way. I went the wrong way.
I just looked up and just saw an arse.
I saw you.
Oh. I was like waiting for
anyone
ages.
listening and not watching, that's going to be really out of context.
So
it's a cup. We swear.
Yes, Jess's mug.
Dan's hot pick was a film called Southbound that I've found free on YouTube, and it's really quite good. I can't remember what channel it was now. But yeah, there's lots of films on there, and it was good. It confused the shit out of me. So it was 5 interlocking tales of highway terror revolved around. How'd you say that word?
Malevolent.
See, that's a new one for me. Spirits at a truck stop, a mysterious traveller, a car accident, and a home invasion. Now, it's confused the shit out of me. I got no idea what was going on. There was a story that really kind of stood out about it was like, I think there was 3 girls and they were in a band, and obviously they break down and they need a lift. It's that old story, Larry, and they end up at some weirdo's house and they get fed some food and they start being sick, black stuff coming out of them, and then they turn into weirdos. And it's that kind of story. There was a story at the beginning. There was these weird, like, ghostly figures after them. That was quite good. And I haven't really got a clue what was going on most of the time. And I'm hoping Dan can... Yeah, so Southbound, or as we call it, So Many Questions Bound. I haven't got a clue what was going on in this film. Just now playing the trailer.
This looks familiar.
Yeah. It started out and it was like some people that they drive away from this like cafe, or what do you call them in America? It's like a diner. They get out of this diner, they drive away, and then they appear back at the diner again. It's that old trick. Do you know what I mean? So they can't get away.
Did the same person who did VHS? I'm guessing
probably,
because I don't know if I read it wrong. Did it say from the creator who brought you?
From the makers who brought you. So
okay. I like VHS. To be fair,
yeah, VHS films are great, and we should do them one day. But it did confuse me. I couldn't really follow what was going on, and I think they interlock, obviously, and they lead one story to the other. But there was a lot of me on the phone, a lot of me getting distracted. Sadly, and that doesn't happen that often. So this is that story you can see on the screen now. What I'm saying about where they start eating this like roast and they start being sick, and then the girls get weird. Yeah, Twilight Zone for the indie horror generation. I don't know. What are your thoughts, Dan? Like, I don't know if you'd seen this before. So obviously, this is your hot pick. I don't know. So Dan's got on there. Great how they bound the stories together. Cool effects, but in the end, too many unanswered stuff. And I totally agree there. And I think
Dan,
I'd have to.
Have you just a question? Have you seen the VHS trilogy? And if so, is this a similar kind of, story arc? Because it says that there's loads of interlocking stories, and VHS is very much that, where it will show like almost short stories all put into one, which then amount to like one bigger story. But I don't know. Like,
I think it's that kind of thing. Yeah.
Well, yeah, because with VHS though, I feel like that gets away with it a bit better because the way it's showcased is kind of like you could watch one little film and then it's like, oh, it cuts out and they have that interlocking story. But I don't know with this one because I don't know.
It's free though. It's free on YouTube. It's whoever makes this film's got their own YouTube channel. And there's a fair few films on there. So if you were to type that into YouTube, you'll get a really decent version of it. I will watch it again one day. I'm sure I'd seen it before anyway. That's the second time. I'm still not understanding what's going on. So I'll probably have to give it a 6 on this occasion, just because I ain't got a clue. There's a couple of stories in there that were really good. Others that didn't really make much sense. And the weird ghostly things as well, which were well done, but I don't know why they were there really. Yeah, so Dan's put in there, it is similar to VHS.
Okay, cool.
But I wish you guys had watched it, but I'll keep doing this Dan's hot pick. So he wants to watch next week A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night, and I haven't heard of this. I don't know. Is it in foreign, Dan?
Yeah, I've heard. I haven't seen it, but it was quite famous. I think it came out in 2017 or something. I think it's in black and white. It's a vampire movie, and it's set in the Middle East.
Yeah.
And I think it's by a female filmmaker as well. I don't know a lot about it, but apparently it's quite good.
Yeah, I just watched a vampire film, but I'll speak about that in a bit. Okay. Shall we move on to what we watched this week?
What have you been watching?
No, seriously, what have you been watching?
Right, okay. Okay, I'll start with me. I watched Nosferatu the Vampire from 1979.
Werner Herzog.
And I love this film. So, Count Dracula moves from Transylvania to Wismar, spreading the Black Plague across the land. Only a woman pure of heart can bring an end to his reign of horror. I really like this film. So I watched the Last Drive-In version with Joe Bob. So he explained everything that was going on to me. And there was 11,000 rats in this film that they could only get older white runs. So they decided to dye them all because obviously they wanted them black.
That sounds
so
like
dedication as well.
Well, they had a kind of machine that dyed them all, and I don't think any died or anything. But some of them were a bit brown, but kind of white. What they found is the rats started licking off all the dye, so it didn't actually last that long. But I really like this film. I'd watched the original. On that Last Drive-In, there was the original, and then this was like part 2, and they played this, and he was great. There was some scenes like this scene here is about 10 minutes long that you can see on the screen there, where he's feeding on her, and it's just so well done, and it doesn't feel like that scene's too long either. No. I love that, and I would highly recommend it. It's in foreign.
German.
So if you speak foreign, you'll get it. But I had to have subtitles, obviously, so I don't speak foreign. But is German, Austrian the same? Are they different languages?
I don't know, but I know this one because it's Werner Herzog, so it would be in German.
It'd be in German.
But I also I agree with you. I really like this version of Nosferatu, and I especially like how Klaus Kinski. I mean, he's a great actor anyway. He's a very interesting actor, but I love the fact that they cast him because I think it's Max Schreck played the original Nosferatu, and he's about 8 foot tall. But with Klaus Kinski, he's quite a squat, small actor. But I like that because I kind of like, I don't know, there's a sort of.
Did you see his shoes?
Sorry?
Did you see his shoes?
I don't remember
how big they were. They were big platform shoes he was wearing throughout. There was a couple of scenes where you could see him running about. And
it's interesting.
He's got this big platform shoes on.
It's interesting. I personally prefer the first black and white, but I think that this is a great, they're both solid films, and they're both, I would highly recommend. And I'm looking forward to Robert Eggers' new one with Anya Taylor-Joy.
What is it? Is that Nosferatu again?
Yeah. So director of Northman, The Lighthouse, The Witch is doing obviously a remake of Nosferatu, and it's got
which I'm curious. Yeah, which I'm curious about. I think we've talked about this before, but it's sort of with Nosferatu specifically. I mean, obviously Nosferatu is taken off Dracula, but Nosferatu is a specifically, I don't know, there's something uniquely German about Nosferatu, and so obviously the first one was done by F.W. Murnau, who was German, and the remake was done by Werner Herzog, who's obviously German. And it's quite interesting to see Robert Eggers' viewpoint, because I mean Robert Eggers obviously isn't German, but he has a very gothic sensibility.
Well,
and
he's also historic. He's also actually know from a lot of his other productions, where obviously depending on if you like his films or not, but he's very historically accurate to whatever he's making. So I'm interested to see this film because I think it's going to look amazing. I also popped into my head. Did anyone watch the old SpongeBob episode when
was in it? Yeah, which I totally didn't get at the time.
Where he flicks the lights.
Yeah. It's like Nosferatu,
and he just has a little smile.
It's a kind of. They're carrying on the vampire thing then from the Northman. So that's all.
Well, there were no vampires really in the Northman.
Well, there must have been.
No, it's all witch. It was all witchcraft. Oh, well, I forget what it's called. It's called something.
You know what? Sorry, this might go back to the WhatsApp chat that we had a few weeks
ago.
I did. I was joking.
I'm confused.
I see. This is. I got so confused because you two were right. So in our WhatsApp chat, there were questions being asked and answers being given where I was like, "The fuck is going on here?" I was like, have I watched the wrong film?
I was joking because Alexander Skarsgård, one of his best known roles is in True Blood, in which he plays a vampire.
I get why
Eric
you said
Northman.
it now.
Eric Northman.
So then he's in a film called The Northman.
Yeah, but he's not.
No,
he's not a vampire though. He's not a vampire.
There's no vampires in the Northman. It's all witchcraft and the gods.
Why is Eric Northman in the Northman? If he's not.
I don't think it's Eric Northman.
It's not attached. This isn't like a True Blood spin-off movie.
Well, that's what I was thinking it was. What? I looked at it and go, the Northman. There's Eric Northman, and I'm going, right, it's a spin-off. Amazing. He's actually none of that lighthouse bollocks or whatever. This is an actual proper film.
Although I would love to see a True Blood spin-off directed by Vegas. It's not.
No, the Northman is based on old folklore. Again, this is what Robert Eggers loves doing. Is bread and butter, I guess. Is that he takes an old folklore and then he expands upon it and
from Norse mythology.
Yeah, I think the only thing that was historically inaccurate in that film, which he said, is the hair, because he said that hairstyles of real life Vikings back in those days isn't exactly appealing to the screen because they're all bowl cuts rather than really long hair. And I was like, yeah, no, fair. I'll accept that.
I've just got to disappear for 2 secs. You guys carry on. I've got one more to do after this, but I'll only be a minute. All right? Is that all right?
Yeah.
Someone at my door. All right?
No
2
worries.
secs. You carry on. Bye.
Well, what I've been up to, guys, has been so interesting. I've been playing on Xbox Jurassic World Evolution 2.
Okay.
And the campaign was shit, but then when you get to like go into the sandbox mode and just make your own park, I've literally like it's been addicting. Like it scared me sometimes. You know, I'll lay there and put a pillow on the top and the bottom and make a little depression sandwich. Because at the end of it, I'm just like, I've been on this game for 5 hours and I have and I'll be like, I have not done anything else with my time. But no, it's great. And
what game?
Jurassic World Evolution 2. It's on Game Pass for free.
I've got that. Yeah, I've started it. Yeah.
Have you done the campaign yet?
No, the problem I've got it, and then I got given some money last week because it was football and stuff. Anyway, end of season, so I bought Evil Dead. So I've been playing that, and I'll talk about that in a bit. So it kind of took over, if you know what I mean. And you'll love it.
Yeah, no, I do. It's one of those ones where I've been debating it because I saw your message where you said you've got it and that it's good, and I've seen like reviews saying that it's essentially like. Yeah, like it has elements of like Dead by Daylight and stuff like that in the Friday the 13th game. But yeah, no, I think you should give a go the Jurassic World Evolution. The campaign is so short, but it's almost just a tutorial, and then just go into sandbox mode and make your own park. Maybe I'll show you guys my park one day.
You should, yeah. But I started also playing Resident Evil 2, 3, and 7. All had kind of upgrades. On the X, and the
X Series S.
So
like
I've been playing, because I finished 2 recently. So like I'm on 3 at the moment. That does look really very nice.
I think 4 is in the works now, isn't it?
I hope so because I own all these games. So like I own them all except the Village, I think. So I'm hoping they all get upgraded at some point. So I won't start 4 until they're upgraded. But 3 upgrades, you can't argue with that. That's
Aren't
nice.
they? They're upgrading as well. Resident Evil 4.
Yeah,
the one where the what? Yeah, that looks. I'm excited to give that a go because that was always one of the Resident Evils that I had as a kid that used to scare the shit out of me.
Yeah, I think that's the only one I really played quite a lot when I was that young. Yeah,
played the first on PlayStation 1 and the second one, but they were like that was. I'm talking like ages ago where it was like the first ones. But yeah, I think 4 was the one that played on the PlayStation 2 quite a lot, and it just used to always shit me up.
It was one of those games where I was just like, I'm not sure if I can play more of this because I'm just too anxious. I'm just it's too much.
You play it for like 10 minutes and then quickly turn off your PlayStation. Like, no.
yeah.
But no, and then obviously I mentioned literally I haven't really watched anything other than Stranger Things. That's it. Basically, I was speaking to Dad about it. And it just like kind of was like a kind of smack in the face because I was like, oh, just talking casually. It was like, what's Stranger Things? And I was just like, no. I was just like, no. And I know my dad loves sci-fi, drama. And we watched the first season, and I was very much like, it could be a hit or miss. He could turn around and be like, it's not my thing. But after the first season, he literally was like, this is my favorite character. This is my favorite character. This, and I was sat there like, oh boy, we got a lot. And so we've just been binge watching it. We literally have one more episode, which I believe we are watching tonight.
Amazing.
Have you started Channel Zero yet?
No, literally, it's just been Stranger Things.
I think you'll get on that, and you'll like it.
I definitely will. I've got a list of stuff. It was just one of those things where while we were talking about it. Yeah. And it was like I haven't seen it. It was like we just got to smash this out. So it's literally been like 4 episodes a night. So usually, and it's just like boom, boom, season 1 done. Next 3 days, season 2 done. So now we're all caught up.
Is the newest Spider-Man on Disney yet?
No, it's
Doctor Strange is on there.
A lot of them are.
Doctor Strange comes on there on the 22nd of June, but Spider-Man's an odd one because Spider-Man is obviously partially owned by Sony. So Sony, who own the rights to Spider-Man, usually say to Disney, like, no. But
But
I
they
think
have
that'll
just released
yeah.
all the Spider-Mans, but the originals are on there.
Yeah,
Disney Plus.
and Homecoming as well is
Yeah.
on there. So I'm hoping that with that they'll just allow then 2 and 3 just to go up, because then you can just watch every Marvel film, because at the moment it's every Marvel film bar Spider-Man, which is a shame.
Okay. You in?
Yeah, so as I sort of alluded to at the top of this podcast,
Which one didn't you like? Yeah.
It was Elvis.
Oh, okay.
The new biopic by Baz Luhrmann. Now, I've sort of enjoyed Baz Luhrmann films in the past. I mean, they're very over the top and very party atmosphere kind of director. He did Romeo plus Juliet with Leo DiCaprio and The Great Gatsby remake, and he also did Moulin Rouge. So he's in many ways he's the ideal director to do this. But much like other sort of this might be sort of reduced being a bit reductive, but like a lot of male directors I've seen recently, or at least fairly in the last few years. So I'm thinking specifically, sorry, Lawrence, thinking specifically of Christopher Nolan's Tenet and Wes Anderson's The French Dispatch, where these directors, who obviously love high budgets and everything, are just given too much creative control. They're given too much free reign in order to try and capture their vision, let's say. And it's the same case with Elvis in that, and obviously this is probably not an ideal film when you're in the initial stages of heat exhaustion, because there are so many sort of like roller coaster visuals where the camera is just spinning everywhere and it's just going from one place to the other. So it basically captures Elvis's early years as a boy growing up in a largely black neighborhood in South America, in Southern America, and how he sort of combined black music styles together in order to create his own sound and stuff like that. And then obviously his road to fame, which was largely facilitated by Colonel Tom Parker, who was his manager, played by Tom Hanks in the film. Weirdly, Tom Parker, I heard Tom Hanks being interviewed about him, and Tom Hanks had all these, because notoriously, apparently, Colonel Parker was like a really despised individual, because a lot of people blame Elvis's death on him and stuff like that. And Tom Hanks in this interview was like, yeah, but apparently there were lots of things which were really good about him, and he was a very good businessman and stuff like that. And he's the voiceover of this film. And I just found him interminable in the sense that I thought he had very few redeeming features, other than being very good at the whole sort of capitalistic game. He was very good at getting money for Elvis, and I just don't think that's a redeeming enough feature to make him a sort of morally interesting as a character. Saying that, the first half of the movie was pretty interesting. You get to see what Elvis is, how Elvis got to where he was, but then the next half was just so tedious, and I just couldn't. It was really difficult to watch because it was just indulging in Elvis's fame. And I think, again, this was a problem with the Bradley Cooper Star is Born movie, and maybe the other Star is Born movies. I haven't seen them, but once you go past the point of ultimate fame, you just don't have anywhere to go in the story, because it's just not as interesting anymore. And once you've done that, it's just like I'm just watching Elvis go from concert to concert with really sort of nauseating visuals just going everywhere. And there was a point where I just kept on thinking it was going to end, and it just didn't. And there was this point where I was like, okay, the screen's gone black. Oh, finally, it's ended. And then the text comes up saying 1 year later. And I'm just like, oh, God. And, this movie is 2 hours and 40 minutes. And it's like, there is no justification. Listen, I've liked a fair few long movies in the past, and I've often said that there must be some justification often for movies to be that long, because they have to negotiate these with producers who because it's often detrimental sometimes to like sales and stuff. But I was just watching this, like, there's no justification for this film to be 2 hours 40, other than being the director's own colorful indulgence of this person he loves so much. So at the end, I was honestly feeling very woozy, because I was just sort of I was sort of like walking out of the cinema just almost unconscious, just trying to find my way home. And then, again, this was heat exhaustion. I just didn't know what I was doing at the time. And I tell you what, I half blame my heat exhaustion on Elvis. I'm going to say that now, because it just made things 10 times worse than they needed to be.
So we probably only got about 5 minutes left, really. So how much more have you got, Ewan? How much do you want to talk about?
I could probably do one more. Shall I do one
Let's
more?
let's just stretch to 2 hours. Let's do
Stretch it out.
Okay.
Stretch it out.
Also, Tenant wasn't shit. You know,
I didn't say it was shit.
I have to say,
oh God, no. We'll be here for a long time. If that...
It confused me. So like, I don't. Things going backwards, things going forwards.
It is
some
confusing.
great scenes in Tenet, but I don't understand what the hell's going on. So I don't know how you can enjoy films really that you don't really know what's going on.
Yeah, it is confusing, definitely.
You don't even understand, Larry, really.
Oh yeah, no, I love it.
Nah. Do you understand what's going on though?
I've spent, I think, nearly 2 hours and a half explaining, I think once on a FaceTime to Ewan, where at the end of it, I think Ewan's face said it all, where it was like, let's just let's just leave this.
But I mean, my this brings a lot. I'll just say this about Tenet, and then I'll move on to Pistol.
Yeah.
But my problem with Tenet is not that it's confusing, but because the character isn't that interesting as a character.
See, I can agree with that in some ways. Like, you know, I do agree that it's not. It's the same issue like what we were talking about earlier with Friday the 13th, in that it's a character who is very much just there to be like, oh, it's like James Bond vessel. And it's like, yeah, okay, that's great. But I equally agree that, like, no, I would prefer Tennant gave me a headache. Oh my God.
That's Mia!
Oh
That's
my
Mia
God.
Yes.
Oh my God.
What a legend.
She's right.
Oh.
That's comment of the week. That is.
That's, to be fair, that was perfect timing. Oh,
it's up there with that one.
Oh my God. Oh, that was so good.
Gave her a headache. She is very right.
Lies.
Anyway,
to
conclude,
me a headache as well. I didn't know what was going
that was
on.
so good. That was so timed perfectly. Sorry, that just caught me off guard.
Just amazing. Well done, Mia.
Oh, yeah, a little.
So just one more thing. Pistol.
Okay. Yeah, my favourite album in the world is Never Mind the Bollocks,
and deservedly so.
Yeah.
I loved this series. Incidentally, Craig Pearce, who wrote this series, also co-wrote Elvis, and it was quite interesting seeing there are a lot of sort of structural similarities with the script. In that, like, Elvis was also a kind of rebellious rocker, trying to sort of make his name and being turned away a lot. Whereas with Pistol, it's like that, like times 100, because these are the Sex Pistols, and they're just I just love, because also following what I would say a very lengthy Jubilee. Just weeks of Jubilee celebrations. A lot of people overseas might not know this, but a lot of us don't like them, or a lot of us don't care about the Queen or anything like that. I'm speaking specifically to American listeners who think that we all love the Queen and we all think she's great. I don't. I really don't care that she's there. She's just there. And I just hate being bombarded with weeks of just celebrations of just across the street, especially when I'm in London. You just get noise of planes flying over and just, like, you know, spelling out 70, the ridiculous sort of like in like opulence and wealth, and it really annoys me. Anyway, this came as such a sort of balm to all of this, because this is just, to me, this is more of what Britain is, or at least my idea of Britain, just sort of like, and it's very sort of, so it's like, it's directed by Danny Boyle, who obviously did Trainspotting and 20 Days Later, and, you know, various other things, and he's a really great he sort of marries up music and film so beautifully, and you basically see the origins of the Sex Pistols from the perspective of the lead guitarist Steve Jones.
Love
And
Steve Jones. Amazing.
Yeah. And it's a 6-part series, and I really enjoyed every episode. I mean, I really like almost like romanticize that time in some ways, even though it was a really hard time and a horrible time for a lot of people. Just that attitude of just like saying piss off to authority, and just like wearing these like amazing I say costumes, just like uniforms of punk, and just like and you mainly follow Steve Jones as he starts the band, and he meets Malcolm McLaren, who's played by Tom Brody Sangster, and and Tom Brody Sangster plays as like a sort of absurd theatrical posh English bloke, and he's brilliant. And then they go to like Vivienne Westwood's shop, Sex, in London, and it's just and they sort of meet together and they gather together, and it's just all these people who are just sick of like authority figures like regimenting their lives and stuff. And obviously I don't think we really have that anymore in this country, but it's sort of or at least not in that scale of popularity. But I just love the fact that they got all the original songs. I mean, quite famously behind the scenes, Johnny Rotten tried to stop the songs being used. Johnny Rotten's the lead singer, was the lead singer, because they didn't consult him on any of the story and stuff. Apparently the other bandmates were, and I think he was sort of like annoyed at the fact that he wasn't consulted, but he lost. And thank God he lost, because I think the songs just make it so much better, and just like you get to see them just like I mean, my favorite scene is like putting all this Jubilee stuff into perspective. When they release their God Save the Queen, they reenact what they actually did. Was that they got a boat on I think it was during the Silver Jubilee. They got a boat and they took it out to outside the Houses of Parliament and just blasted out their version of God Save the Queen. And and they recreate it so well, and it's so sort of liberating. And
is Glenn Matlock, is he in it quite a bit or not?
Yeah, he's in it a fair amount. It's quite funny, really, because they'd always take the piss out of him because he's the only one of their lot who went to grammar school, even though he's about as working class as all of them. They take the piss out of him for being a posh bloke. But also amazingly, I didn't realize, and maybe I need to do my research more, but a lot of them, except for Steve Jones, a lot of them like came from quite caring families, like quite sort of like in the rough, so to speak, but still like, and I wonder if that's like part of the reason why they felt the confidence to like say fuck you to authority. And there's also that just great, they recreate the famous Grundy interview where they just like on telly for the first time, and they're interviewed by this drunken interviewer, and I think they like say like shit and fuck for the first time on like live TV. And I advise anyone to just go onto YouTube and watch that, because it's like everywhere, and it's the funniest, just a group interview that's
you
like
dirty rotter.
You dirty rotter. You dirty bastard. It's great. Great advice. But no, I had so much joy with that. And Danny Boyle, he sort of again crafts his direction like almost like trying to create something that no one else has done, and to do that in TV is especially difficult. And he does it in like a 4:3 frame, and he's like shoots it in a really different way, and the colors are also really vivid, and it's edited really beautifully, and reminded me a lot of Trainspotting actually. But yeah, so I advise everyone to watch that. So
I will do. It'll be worth getting Disney. It's on Disney, isn't it?
Yeah, Disney Plus.
Jess, did I speak to you?
No. The only thing I've really watched, and I watched this earlier, was the last episode of Miss Marvel, episode 2.
Miss Marvel.
Miss Marvel.
Oh,
Yes,
I
very
get
good.
confused.
As always. It's good.
It's good, is it?
Yeah, it's I think there was like a weird little musical kind of bit to it, which I thought was a bit out of place. But I like what they're doing with the characters. It's a little bit predictable, but
I haven't seen episode 2 yet.
I quite enjoyed it.
It's still good, yeah.
Okay.
That's cool. That's it, really.
All right. I might save mine for next week. So I've been watching I watched Housebound, but I'll do that next week. There was another Joe Bob last drive-in job. So we're back next week. Dan's hot pick: A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night. So episode 85 next week. I think we're doing Nightmare on Elm Street. Is everyone happy with that? The original?
Yeah.
Are we happy to do that? Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah,
Do the original, all of them.
Yes.
Let's
Yes.
do all 8.
All 8.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got them. I don't know what to do after that. Obviously, we're going for these bigger, well-named films because that seems to be doing quite well on YouTube at the moment. Last week's was done okay. I think that Evil Dead episode's now got 5,000 downloads. I think so. That's a lot for us, really. So I'm pleased that's taken off. So let's stay on the kind of more popular films at the moment. Yeah,
and have been looking at different locations that are like haunted and stuff for something that we've been discussing that we possibly are going to do. So I've been looking into that a lot. So stay tuned for that.
That will go out on the channel. I would have thought some spooky stuff. I'm up for that. I can't wait. So especially near where Salisbury. That's quite a spooky place, isn't it?
Yeah, Salisbury's always kind of
Salisbury. Well, we got a place near us called Salisbury, I think.
Salisbury, I think.
Salisbury, there you go.
Yeah.
That's what confuses me. Salisbury and Salisbury. But we are playing a football match near Stonehenge.
Nice.
In a couple of weeks' time. So, yeah, up that way.
A good goalpost, those rocks.
Wow. That would be perfect. I don't know. Well, can you actually get near the rocks these days?
You
can't get anywhere near them.
You can if it's like summer solstice and winter solstice, but there's
not for a football game.
You can't
not for a football game.
No load of 9-year-olds there to play football.
No, probably not.
All right. So if you want to follow us on Twitter, it's the Bones Horror Pod. Email us at the Bones Horror Pod at gmail.com. Facebook can fucking do one. And whereas we're Instagram Bones Horror Pod, so that's really looked after and pushed hard at the moment.
Yep. Yes.
So yeah, we'll be back next week with episode 85, A Nightmare on Elm Street. Thank you very much for watching. See you next week. Ta-ra.
Bye.
You're ignorant.